Good evening, Internet, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Bloodstone, an 8-Bit Ponies slash 4Dads D&D 5th edition campaign. For those of you who do not know me yet, my name's 8-Bit Ponies, and I am your oh-so-humble dungeon master for this campaign. I'll get to introducing our players here in just a moment, but first I have a few housekeeping items I would like to cover. Number one, most important, this is an adults-only podcast slash stream. You probably noticed the mature content warning whenever you signed on for the first time, or you will. And this is 100% live and unscripted. Means adults using adult language and sometimes encountering adult situations. We don't pull punches on this stream and in this game, and so if you encounter anything as part of the stream that you don't agree with or that bothers you, please feel free to see yourself to the exit, take care of yourself, do what you need to do. We all understand. Number two, we are relatively new to streaming, so there are technical issues that are bound to happen across this whole thing. Please be patient with us. Let us know if you can't hear something or if you're having trouble seeing things via the chat. We will try to have somebody get to those issues as soon as we can. But again, we are very new to this. We've only been streaming for a short time. This is our first time streaming D&D, so technical issues are bound to happen. In addition, we will have VODs of our weekly stream that will be posted to YouTube within a few days, usually. But the VOD will be available on our Twitch channel immediately after the stream. So if you're not able to catch the whole thing, you will have the opportunity to go back and see what you missed. Number three, during the stream, we will not be paying attention to chat and we will not be running ads. This is to preserve the integrity of the game because above all else, this is our game. We've been playing together for a long time and we don't want the fact that we're streaming it to change the integrity of the game itself. So feel free to use the chat. Feel free to talk with each other and react as you see fit. But know that we are not going to be paying direct attention to the chat. Mods will still be in place when mods are available. So if you have any questions, ask your mods. And then after the stream, there is a possibility of a Bloodstone after hours chat session where we'll stay on stream or we'll return to stream and chat with viewers, and you can chat with the cast and ask the questions that you may have for the cast. Stay tuned for more information about that after the stream, and we'll be back with you to chat with the viewers as we can. Number four, we have a Discord that is available so that you can discuss the game, the campaign with other viewers, with other fans, and the cast themselves. We're all active in the Discord. If you have questions, you can use the Bloodstone public channel of our Discord to ask your questions. Somebody will eventually get to those questions, whether it is on stream or off. And I promise you, if it's something that I can answer, I will answer all of your questions. Keep it civil, though. All discourse should remain civil. We're all adults. Let's just be adults. Also note that we use a good deal of homebrew in our campaign, and we kind of stray occasionally from the rules as written in 5th edition D&D when it suits us. So don't expect that this is going to be a very strict, very structured D&D game. It's not. We stick pretty close to the rules wherever we can, but we always err on the side of cool whenever there's a rules conflict. And then number five and final, most of all, have fun. This is going to be a great deal of fun for us. It has been for almost 13 years. We're very, very excited and very happy to get to share it with you. And we hope that you enjoy and keep coming back and share this amazingly fun time with us. All of our socials are posted on our Twitch channel and will be on screen after the show. You can follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Discord for more great 8-Bit Ponies / 4Dads content. and you see there's an icon on the screen encouraging you to subscribe if you see fit. If you like what you see and you want to throw us a little bit of support, we would definitely very much be appreciative of that. With all of the housekeeping items covered, we're going to go to introductions. So we'll introduce all of our great players for you, and then we'll jump directly into the action. So first things first, I'm going to introduce Mr. Souls. Souls?
Hey, I'm Souls512. I play League of Legends with the four dads as one of the dads, and I am going to be playing Baron Eldrick Oks, Paladin of Ilmater, this evening.
All right. Zale?
I'm also one of the four dads, Zale Starum. I play Thoros'l One Ear, Wood Elf, Blood Hunter, follower of Sheverash, the elven god of vengeance, who's on a centuries-old quest to revenge, or I guess seek revenge for the death of his family.
Great. Thank you, Zale. Draugg?
I am Draugg. I will be playing the character of Sprout Riftrender, who joined the party a little bit later in. I am a Furbolg, and I am still fairly new to D&D, and I have joined a group that is generous with their time and their information, so they know what they're doing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks, Draugg. Cymryth?
Hi, I'm Cymryth, and I play the character Alanere Nightsky, who is actually a human druid of Shantaea, but he's donned a magical elven disguise to play as an ambassador for infiltration purposes. He has along the way become very entangled in this quest, as a dear animal companion of his was brutally slaughtered, and so he has a bit of a slight revenge streak reason for wanting to continue even after his initial goals had been met.
Thanks,
And
Cymryth.
his hobbies include often saving the party from certain doom time and time again.
Thanks, Cymryth. And last, certainly not least, Vamp. You want to go next?
Yeah, Vamp. I play Makaria, a tiefling wizard. She is relatively new to this party, as almost all of my characters are usually cut short of their lifespan by multiple DMs in this party. Or I play very cut and loose with my characters, one of the two.
Great. Thanks, guys. You'll get to know all of these players and characters over the course of the next several weeks as we continue through this campaign. Let us hope that you come to know and love them as I do. And if not, well, at least Vamp's character will probably be dead soon. Unless there's anything else that one of you guys would like to add, we will dive into tonight's session. All right. Then we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome once again to Bloodstone. We begin on a lonely hilltop at the center of the abandoned elven village of Maplein. This hill, once the site of Maplein's Tree of Legacies, where the newly departed villagers would be returned to the earth to continue the great cycle of life and death, is now a twisted, barren place where only death reigns. While the hill is surrounded on all sides by the great forest of Cormanthor, for a span of several dozen yards immediately surrounding the hilltop, nothing lives. Only the dead, decaying remains of trees and dozens of disturbed graves remain here now. Even the great Tree of Legacies itself lies felled atop the hill, having been corrupted and made into an undead parody of its former glory. This is the aftermath of a great battle that ended only moments ago, where a manifestation of Irae, the Drow goddess of undeath and vengeance, was defeated and driven screaming back to her domain in the abyss. The victors, or should I say survivors, of that battle remain atop the hill, battered, broken, and exhausted, our heroes have little time to rest and recuperate from their weeks-long crusade in the Underdark, as a new potential threat looms much closer than any of them had realized. When last we left our intrepid group of adventurers, 7 figures remained atop Mapleland's blasted hill of legacies. A new dawn begins to light the sky, the first any of them has seen in many days. For some, the first they have ever seen. We look down at those 7 figures. One, Alanere, reaches down to give a hand to Sprout, who was lying on the ground, knocked there by one of the previous battle's final attacks. Alanere, would you please describe your character?
Well, currently Alanere is a rather large white pale bark tree with golden leaves. But normally he's actually a rather young looking elf. He's got flowing green hair that it's slightly unkempt, falls down to his shoulders. He has a pair of brown eyes that matches his earth tone clothes pretty much almost exactly. He sports a breastplate made of ironwood that has his holy symbol of Shantaea dangling over top of it, and he has a scimitar that always stands ready at his belt, but it is rarely used.
So the white tree with golden leaves reaches down to lift the only recently returned to life body of Sprout. Sprout, would you please describe your character?
I am a bit of an oafish kind of a looking character. The race would be a furbolg, and the size is probably rather large for most characters, but kind of a reddish brown hair through most of it, hairy arms, full beard, a little bit of a magic essence around him, so you're not sure exactly how big or small he is, because he can adjust a little bit, just to fit in, if you will. One of the things that you may notice when you see him the first time is that he has a rather intriguing weapon that is always by his side. It kind of glows in and out of existence. Where the blade is, it sometimes is not. And he likes to swing it, and he likes to save people from it. So that's kind of where I'm at and who I am. I was teleported here, and from a different realm, and just trying to figure out where in the world I belong and how I can help the world that I'm at.
As Alanere helps Sprout back to his feet, helps him dust off a little bit of the grave dirt that he's been lying in, checks to make sure that he's well, as he was very nearly a casualty of the previous battle. We pivot only a few feet away to where a trio of strange figures also exist. On the ground, kneeling on the ground, is a strangely pale elf woman. Long, dark hair trails down one side of her face, along one side of her head, and on the other side, it is shorn close to the scalp. She dresses all in white, which only serves to augment her existing paleness, and she looks very worriedly from the man standing over her to a pair of figures standing nearby, down to a young half-drow male laying across her legs. The young male, dusky-skinned, red-eyed, lies on his back, on the woman's legs, and wide-eyed, mouth moving, but no sound coming out. He's completely motionless otherwise. He seems to be... Well, it's unclear what exactly the malady that this young man is facing, but he does appear to be in a great deal of distress, and she looks down at him worriedly as she vacillates between the other figures. Standing above them, protectively, perhaps, swords still drawn, is Thoros'l. Zale?
Thoros'l is a very grim fellow. Wears monochrome black, mostly. A black breastplate with the symbol of Sheverash, a arrow snapped in two, and a teardrop, blood drop, take your pick, dripping from the break. He has bandages from his shoulder down each arm, covering his hands as well, that are perpetually soaked in his own blood, varying degrees depending on the moment. He carries a interesting sword in his hand at this moment, purplish. I don't know how else to describe it. You might have to see a picture. I don't know. But you could honestly count the number of times he smiled on his hand, his left hand in particular, which now has only 3 fingers, recently cut almost clean off in the previous exchange. His left ear is missing, a gash taking his ear and down his neck from over a century ago when his family was taken and he tried to save them, failing miserably. I mean, that's Thoros'l in a nutshell. Gray hair, elven, angry eye.
Great. Just one moment. I need to step off of camera for just a second. Things
Yeah.
happen, guys. 1 second. Apologies for that all. My family just arrived home and I had to say good night to my daughter. That dad life.
Yep.
To get us back into the action. Thank you, Zale. Nearby, just a few feet away from where the elven trio rest after the long battle, there's another pair. These two they almost couldn't be more different, and they actually stand together, facing one another, in a very tense, confrontational posture. Makaria, would you please describe yourself?
Makaria is a tiefling, modest height of about 5'10", so a little above average for most people. She is very slim of build, and her horns, like most tieflings, sprout from her head, but they curl back and spiral down, and her skin is a deep reddish brown, and she wears white robes with a yellowish trim, and in her hand she is clutching a wand, and I do believe, because of events, that her eyes are still very much solid black.
And would you please describe the crown effect that Makaria is currently under?
At this time, she is radiating a little bit of negative energy, and upon her head is a dazzling black crown, not necessarily sitting, but just in a shape. It looks almost like energies forming into crystals and then breaking apart, but there's a magical barrier kind of holding it together. But absent is her normal magical barrier that she uses when she's in combat.
And interposed between Makaria and the rest of their companions is Eldrick. Souls?
After the last events, Eldrick is a frightful appearance. Eldrick Oks stands 6 feet tall, muscular build. He's currently wearing most of a suit of heavy black drow plate mail, save for the breastplate that is, for whatever reason, missing. Underneath of which you can see through is his yellow tabard, which bears the twin bound hands of the god Ilmater, which is the god that he worships. Clutched in his left hand, or in his right hand, is a battle pick, which still bears flecks of yellow energy from the strike that he used to fell the god Kiranzli, and in his left hand is clutched a dark orb. And he himself is currently, I believe, encircled by some light green light that seems to be emanating from the orb and around him. He's young, probably around 18, 19, but his eyes are much wearier than that, and he has enough battle scars to show that he has been on quite the adventure over the past many months. His hair is short crop brown. It looks like it's probably growing back from having been shaved for whatever reason. And he has an unshaved beard kind of growing in from his time traveling. He looks questioning at Makaria.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll give a little bit of background as what has happened in previous sessions and why specifically the party is arrayed the way that they are. So as I mentioned before, there was a great battle that just took place atop this hill. The party had been adventuring in the Underdark for quite some time. The culmination of that wound up with the party teleporting back to the village of Mapleland, where this leg of their journey began, and fighting atop this hill. While they were ultimately successful in their battle and banished the manifestation of the goddess Kiranzli back to the abyss, quite a toll was taken during the fight for a number of different reasons. But the chiefest among them, at least the most pertinent at this particular moment, was in the closing moments of the battle, Kiranzli offered information to Eldrick if he would simply turn away and allow her to finish, claim her revenge against one of the other members of the party, and let slip, or perhaps ceded information that one of the party members, specifically she, within the party, was working for or with Eldrick's greatest enemy. Eldrick assumed, I suppose, or came to the conclusion that the person Kiranzli meant was Makaria. So immediately after the battle concluded, weary, still very much wounded, but resolute, Eldrick trod past the recovering party members to confront Makaria. And I believe, Eldrick, your question was?
Towards the end of the battle, Kiranzli, this is what he said. Towards the end of the battle, Kiranzli said that a spy from our greatest enemy was among us. He said that she was among us. Would you care to explain, Makaria?
Makaria just looks over at you. I don't know. You killed her. Maybe ask her.
Well, I'm asking you.
And then I'll just point right at Thoros'l, but then down at the daughter. Oks, Eldrick, you took me from a library and threw me in here. And this is the result of that. She is the result of something that was unchecked. And she's the result, or at least the catalyst, of the destruction that is here.
He loosens his grip on his pick a little bit, but he doesn't take his eyes off of Makaria. I don't doubt that any of that is true, that all of that is true. But that doesn't answer my question.
He's asking
Mm-hmm.
Irae, the elf woman kneeling in the dirt with her back to Eldrick and Makaria. Her kind of still, calm voice raises in the ensuing silence, and she says, "He's asking, Makaria dear, about your father."
Thoros'l is standing. He was at the pointed finger at Sophia. He gets in between Makaria and her. He's got his sword out and he pulls the other one.
Tell us, or tell them, what I already know.
Well, Eric, it's hard to explain so much when my interrogation was cut so short. Our host, Kurgoth, was attempting to explain my birthright, or at least my unfortunate circumstance of being born. And she'll kick off one of her boots, and there's a goat hoof that just smacks the ground, and out of her boot kind of rolls out, like wadded up, just something that added the toe feature to it. Nothing ingenious, but just enough to give her balance. Apparently, this is not common. But these, and she flicks her horns, are common for my race, so I just assumed one was another. But Kurgoth says I am born of Orcus. However, he's dead, and I cannot at least bring him back enough to get the truth from him. Can you? Because I would like to believe I am not that.
Don't listen to her.
Says the one who sold her soul.
Yes, that's true. I am everything that you say I am. I made a bargain with a dark power for my freedom from a place that I never should have been locked away, so that I could be with my son. And she strokes thanas'l's forehead and the remainder of my family before you brutally cut them down. I am no saint, but I am at least plain with my motives. Something that you will not get from your companion. She has deceived you the way that she deceived me. Stole from me what was supposed to be mine. Stole from me what should have been my freedom. It is only lucky for me that a good-hearted individual such as yourself was fated to meet me. Eldrick, you gave me what Thoros'l promised. And as you have seen, I've had done with her.
No, you did not have done with her. You were filling and ready and willing to let her loose so that you could get out of that plane. And I was brought in for whatever your plan was. And I just happened to do what you were going to do. Only you tagged along for the ride after I tried to leave you. And I'll look directly at Thoros'l. Just the black eyes. And yes, she would have been left there. Because out of all those volumes that we have read on this journey, none of them prove that she is in fact in total your own.
I look at Eldrick. I'm not responding to that. I just look at Eldrick. Whatever her motives are, shrug. She helped us. Here we are. Sophia's free.
Irae
We
flinches.
can part ways.
Irae flinches at the mention of her former name. And she looks down at her son. No, father. It's not that simple. She kind of sighs, head down, hair kind of framing her face. You still think that I'll return home with you and become the little girl that I was. But this is home. Look around you, Father. What remains of our home? It's gone. Just as Sophia is gone. I was with them for 100 years. They're more family to me than you ever were, whether I like it or no. And thanas'l, I will not abandon my son. Yet, even with Kiaran's'l gone, banished, and even with the anchor, and she brushes the fine tracery of green runes on his face from where Eldrick touched him with the stone. He will not rest. If he recovers, he will not rest until he has vengeance for Zadar, for Kiaran's'l. He will see you dead. You will never be able to rest as long as he lives. You cannot leave him alive. Yet, I will do everything that I must, as a mother must. You should kill us now, while we are weakened, and be done with it.
Eldrick will pipe up. That's not going to happen. I didn't trug through the Underdark to keep a promise to a friend so that we could break that vow now. Whatever your son wishes to do when he recovers is his business. He is free to come for me if he desires. But there is no scenario where I allow him to be murdered here now. And he kind of looks at the whole group when he says that. However, we can sort that matter here in a moment. Irae, you tell me that Makaria is not to be trusted. Under what events do you have that claim to be made, barring the ones that have brought us to this exact point? Whether or not she made promises to you about the ritual with which you were attempting to cast and then broke those promises is not leverage in this situation. She came here with me to help free you and your son.
Do you truly believe that? Do you truly believe that our meeting was not fated? How is it, then, Eldrick, that both of us have come to learn the ritual that you speak of? Lost, ancient, abandoned knowledge, forbidden knowledge, that only two people seem to know. How is it that she and I have both studied at the feet of one she calls master, and he is no friend to you, I promise? No. She may have the circumstances of her becoming companions with you may be coincidence, but she and I were always fated to meet. This was the culmination of of decades, centuries of planning. Makaria is just the beneficiary instead of me. Her design and his.
His who?
Yeah,
Netheril.
his who?
Netheril, the one she serves.
The one who abandoned me after he taught me at least the basics and gave me a thirst for a little bit more knowledge. Don't equate him to something more than he was. Most of what I accomplished, I did on my own, including track him down.
Is he dead then? At your hand?
No. I meant when I was all of 9. That's my drive.
What would you believe, Eldrick? It
None of this
seems
matters. I'll interject. I mean, why do we care? Makaria's got her power. Whether she used us or not, we got what we wanted. She got what she wanted. We go our separate ways. Be done with this.
Can you truly do that, Eldrick? You need one of us, and you know
I
it.
think that I have spent a great deal of my life directed by forces beyond my own, and I will not begrudge another simply because that may be true. And he looks to Makaria, certainly have worries now. And he'll look back to Irae. However, Ilmater is the god who endures. And if I must do so, then I will so in his stead. I have no intention of casting anyone out, killing anyone here that doesn't have any fight that they want to start right now.
Then you are a fool. And this will come back to bite you when it matters most.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Irae looks to Thoros'l. What of you, father? What is to become of us?
He'll stalk over to them, and plunge his swords into the ground and kind of kneel down in front of them. He'll say, just looking right at her, "You're right. You're a woman grown with a family of your own. I set out to kill everyone that wronged me. There's still some people on that list. And if thanas'l needs to come for me for killing his father, then so be it. If you need to come for me, then that's your life too. There's a place for him. I'm sure we can find a home for you, but it's your path to walk, just as my path was mine." But just like I can't take your duties from you, you can't take mine from me. If you're in trouble again, I'll come and find you. Even if it's 100 years from now.
She almost smiles at that. There's just the ghost of a little bit of pink that comes to her skin, and the corner of her mouth raises up just a little bit. As much as Thoros'l ever can be said to smile, that same expression crosses her face very briefly, and she returns her gaze down to her son. You were never able to protect me, Father. I don't blame you for that. It was beyond you. It still is. I chose my path. I chose to barter with that demon. She will come for me in the end. And she puts a hand on thanas'l's forehead. And I know from where it will come. But I release you. Any obligation you feel you had to me because of your failure all those years ago, forget that. You came. It took you 100 years, but you came. And if you ever reach the end of that quest and you want to try to become a family, what I said to you in the tower still is true. I could use you. Especially now. But until then, until your road, till your quest is at an end, then I don't feel we have much else to say to one another.
He'll stand up, pull his swords out of the ground, and he'll nod. You're right. I'm no protector, even now. But if you're looking for, if you ever need a place to rest, he sure as hell is. And I'll point to Eldrick. He can find you a place. And I'll look at him because I didn't ask.
Eldrick will smile. There's a place for you in Morov if you want it. And he'll kind of raise his left hand with a stone in it a little bit. Or I can take you anywhere you wish to be. Anywhere that you can show me.
She
As
nods.
I understand it, Morov, Bloodstone, has some protection against demons and the like. Right?
Yes, the White Tree. There's an area protected by the White Tree with which demons cannot enter. I am unsure if that extends to gods, but certainly demons.
If you hail from Bloodstone, Damara, then you are closer to danger than you realize. There is a sect of her church that is not far from there, beneath the earth. The Sisters of the Undying Chapel. You're marked now. The entire faith will know what happened here. Be wary. I am no safer in your realm than I am in my own. But I would ask a boon of you. I know I have no right to ask the trouble that I've caused you and the anchor on my son. We can hide for a time, at least until he recovers, but not here. And I can't take him. I can't take him with me unless you release him. But do this knowing I marked you with the soul anchor because I know your Ilmater does not reside on this plane. Now Kiaransli does not either. By removing the anchor, you may restore his link to her and put another arrow in his quiver in his likely undying quest for revenge. Every slight answered 1,000-fold. But I ask it nonetheless. Don't imprison him here the way that I did to you.
Eldrick looks to Makaria and kind of nods, and he'll stow his pike in his belt, or his pick in his belt, and he'll head over to Irae and thanas'l. He'll touch thanas'l with the stone and remove the mark. Does anything bad happen?
Jeez, good question.
thanas'l doesn't immediately react in any way. You see the string of runes trailing down his face, the mark of the soul anchor, flare once and then vanish. I say that he doesn't react, but there is a sigh that issues forth from his mostly emotionless body,
Mm-hmm.
and a bit of a shudder. But other than that, there's no outward appearance that anything else has happened.
All right. Eldrick will look to Irae. He will do whatever he does. I am concerned with the promise I made to this one, and he'll nod towards Thoros'l. Are you sure it's not safer for him to remain sans Kiaranzli's influence?
The only place that we have, the only hope that we have of staying ahead of her is by staying on the move in the way that now you will. Among the planes. You've given me that, and for that I thank you.
Certainly.
I find myself in your debt. I don't like being in anyone's debt. She kind of seems to be gathering herself a bit. And she looks past Thoros'l to look Eldrick in the eyes. Says, if you have need of me, call, and I will answer.
One day we may do that yet. He'll look to Thoros'l. Are you sure you're not going to go with her? List of names and all seems seems like a poor substitute.
Where he must tread, I will not follow. I will not return to that place.
I don't know that he must tread anywhere. All debts have been settled on her account.
I'll look at Sophia again and say, no, my daughter's right. I'm no protector. And she has to walk her own way. She knows where I am. She can find me.
Fair enough. I would like to know more about this incredibly rare ritual that you and my friend Makaria here seem to know. I'd like to believe she's told me as much as she is able about it, but I suspect you may have additional information that would be beneficial to me.
She looks past you to Makaria, and you do see a smile creep across her face. Of course. Whatever you ask. I owe you. Makaria, in that moment, you receive a message. It is a voice that you recognize. A voice that you've heard very much over the last few moments. It is Irae's voice. We are not done, you and I. Think you that you have your victory. I will find a way to hurt you, as you have hurt me. This I vow on my son's life. Every slight. You know the rest.
It's a fucking night branch.
Oh my.
None
It's
of
a good thing
obviously none of you hear that except for Makaria.
Yeah.
Is it a true message, or was this... Okay, would Makaria know if it was a true message spell, or was that telepathy?
It was, in fact, telepathy.
Okay. So then she keeps her mouth shut, but when Makaria receives that, even with her pitch black eyes, there's that kind of narrowing, but then her grin matches Irae's as she looks down at the dead or almost dead body of her son and just gives a casual shrug of almost finished. But stays away from everyone, just that little...
Man, these two ladies, geez. Eldrick, not knowing that any of this mental combat is going on here, will inquire, what does the ritual require and what does it do?
She kind of sits back on like, on her heels a little bit, still kneeling on the ground, but returns to a little bit more comfortable position, idly stroking her son's hair. Would it be too much to ask to retire from these specific environs for this conversation? I would very much like to see the back of this place.
Suspect that we can do so. He'll look to Thoros'l. Any idea where we would go at this point? She doesn't want to go to Bloodstone,
Well, she doesn't
and
want
I don't
to.
know this
She doesn't
area.
want to stay there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I think we should head back to Morov, right? Didn't we say we'd come back afterwards?
Yeah, I think we were going to head back to Helio, weren't we? Because that's where we left from, I believe.
You have apartments there, or you did.
Right.
Not only that, but don't we need to inform? What was the guy's name that we were with? The orc guy.
Well, we have no idea where Buck's
But
tribe is. We just know that I promised him that if he went on this trip with us, they would have a home in Morov, but I have no idea where they are to keep that promise, unfortunately.
that sucks.
And Buck's gone. Like, we have not seen Buck. Like,
That's what I was thinking. We
Like,
might need
just
to go
what happened,
inform
yeah.
next to kin, but we
He
don't know.
completely disappeared after the battle at the Colosseum, for sure. And you have no way of knowing where he's gone.
Yeah, he got nabbed by a ghost or some such. So Eldrick will knock that up in the big long list of things to figure out, but he'll look to Alanere and Makaria. So either of you able to get us back to Heliogabalus?
yes. Oh. Makaria stops and looks over at Alanere.
Alanere still in treant form, and probably the first time ever while he's shapeshifted, he actually speaks. And it is kind of like that longer, like drawn out tree speech. I do have a way, but it would require much rest for me to gather the necessary spell to return us.
I can do it now. Oh,
Irae's eyes flick down to the stone still clutched in Eldrick's left hand, but she says nothing.
Eldrick sees that, tightens his grip on the stone, and says, let's save this for emergencies. If Makaria can get us there, I see no reason to not take that ride.
she starts openly counting. 3. And then gets to Alanere and tries to do big counts of the branches.
Alanere, do you have a sudden urge to enjoy walking south? Anyway,
Let's see.
carry
So
the tree.
8. Okay, I have enough. So Makaria will say she can transport everyone who is here.
Alanere will say, you need me to return to my normal size?
No, but I believe the destination may appreciate depending on where we end up.
Alanere will go ahead and return to his normal form.
Okay. So the tree doesn't so much wither as it shrinks. The golden leaves kind of retracting out upon themselves, the branches all coming back to form to a single point, and then the trunk becomes your true form or your usual form.
The usual form.
Got it. Okay. A green-haired elf
right.
Irae reaches up to squeeze Thoros'l's hand, and her look says goodbye.
He'll, squeeze her hand back and just nod.
Makaria.
Everyone would please join hands. And
Yep.
and she'll be. Where are we going again? Oh,
We-
Sprout.
I'm holding hands.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yes. We'll form a circle.
Yep. If there's a very specific point, we'll go to that part. But in general, I would just think like the courtyard of Eldrick's estate, or wherever we like gathered essentially for briefing wise.
So
Didn't we get teleported out here?
we did get teleported out here. We were teleported out here by a mage of some renown, whose name I can't remember because apparently it's not that much renown. But the queen tasked him with teleporting us out here, if I remember correctly. But you would know. So Eldrick's estate technically is now in Morov, but he does have apartments in Heliogabalus, which you have been to.
Yeah, so there.
Yes. Well, there's some truth in that. He did once have apartments in Heliogabalus.
Oh, that's right. They got exploded.
They are no longer standing. However, you did meet on multiple occasions within the city. There are plenty of locations within the city of Heliogabalus that you could teleport to, that you remember. But the study of Quillen, the sage, in the palace at Heliogabalus would be the most likely position for you to return to.
Well, there we go.
That is dependent on whether you want the Dalharans within the inner sanctums of the palace at Heliogabalus.
That's probably a no.
Can you just like take us outside of the city or into like somewhere outside the gate or whatever? I don't know. Like we don't need to be in a building, right?
Yeah, you could just vamp us. Whatever time of day it is, you can probably just vamp us outside the city the northern gate or whatever, and we can just do our thing.
Based on how far west you've come, and I apologize, I don't have like time zones figured out in my head on the Forgotten Realms, but it's probably a few hours after dawn within Heliogabalus. So morning.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. You could just be travelers on the road.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That is easy enough for you to do, Makaria.
I will use a normal spell. My reserved spell that I'd never use because I needed it for the entire thing. And you all are lucky. Boom.
Okay. I have to ask.
Blow up? Do we blow up?
No, we don't blow
It
up.
said boom.
I know.
I have to ask. Do you bring Irae and thanas'l along?
You better.
Okay, so see, this is what's gonna hurt me, because yes, Makaria will bring them because I like the threat. Like that fun game is now afoot, and it like breaking out of the library is like, oh, I got all this going now. But the spell, just for you, 8-bit, it says the spell instantly transport you and up to 8 willing creatures. So even though we are all connected, if those two choose, so I choose 2.
I like that. It's punt to the DM.
Yeah.
Well, because
I want to be holding Sophia's hand in my right gauntleted hand. I want that to be on Makaria's shoulder. That's my position.
So whether or not thanas'l and Irae are willing is the linchpin of the spell.
Does
Yeah.
appear to be.
Because if they aren't, we will go. Like, we bamf, and they probably just
Stay.
stay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So Makaria finishes her spell. Power begins to gather. You feel the arcane force building up in the weave around you, and you feel that slightly disconnected feeling as either you're being drawn from your physical forms, or being drawn through a point, between points in the universe, or perhaps the universe itself is being drawn through you. After your ears pop and everything goes dark for a moment, there's a wave of vertigo that hits, and suddenly you feel warm sun on your faces. Not too warm, as you've just transported to a region aptly known as the Cold Lands, in the middle of their autumn season. It's quite cold, but you still feel that warmth of early morning sun. And as your vision begins to clear, you see off a bit in the distance the Golden City, Heliogabalus. The 7 of you rest outside the city of Heliogabalus. Right there, we're going to take a little break. I'm going to take a drink of water. We're going to do just a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and determine what happens within Heliogabalus. Thanks for sticking with us. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Stick around. We'll be right back.
I bet so.
that is louder than I intended for it to be. There we go. Welcome back. I hope that you stuck around with us through the break. Thank you for giving us a few minutes to center ourselves, stand up, walk around, get drinks, all that good stuff. We're going to go right back into our session with the party having just left behind the village of Mapleland and arriving on the outskirts of the city of Heliogabalus. For those of you who are not aware, Heliogabalus is not yet the capital city of the land called Bloodstone, but is easily its most important city. Nicknamed the Golden City, it is the place in the eastern realms of Faerun in the Forgotten Realms that one can find anything, almost anything, for the right price. Scheduled to become the nation's capital in a few short months as the King of Damara completes his transition to ruler over the disparate city-states of the nation of Damara and births his brand new nation, taking the wilds of Vasa under his wing and a neighboring community to the northwest, annexing Vasa into the Damaran control and christening his brand new kingdom of Bloodstone. The king will arrive to great fanfare sometime within the next few months. But until that time, Heliogabalus is simply a metropolis that is the central point for almost everything that happens in the Bloodstone lands. We begin, we'll say, just after maybe 8-9 o'clock in the morning here. The sounds of the city just beginning to come out from beyond the walls. Hearing hawkers in the streets crying out their wares. You're hearing the sounds of the great river Beaumaris rushing nearby. You will have to cross to get into the city proper. Off in the distance, you can see the city walls, tall and powerful stone build. And even further out, the Palace Hill, the large rocky promontory on which the palace at Bloodstone, or the Palace of Bloodstone, the palace in Heliogabalus, that will soon become the focal point of the entire kingdom, off in the distance. Where would you like to go?
Souls, you're muted.
You are muted.
Of course, I'm muted. Welcome to every flippin' work meeting that I saw. All right. Did Irae and thanas'l come with us? You said all 7. That's all 7 of us, yeah?
All 7. They are still... thanas'l is still, as he has been for much of the time you've known him, apparently incapacitated. Still lying senseless across his mother's legs. He will need to be carried.
I'll pick him up if Sophia allows it.
Well, hold up. Before we set out, I need to get out of this armor because they're not going to let us in the door if I look like this. Thoros'l, if you and Irae could remove anything dangerous from thanas'l, specifically his whatever ties him to his god directly, would be fantastic. He'll look directly at Makaria. Appreciate the teleport. I'm going to go behind that tree and remove this. So Eldrick's going to find a tree to step behind and just start pulling the armor off of him.
All right. Irae, don't like calling her Irae, and I will take the items off of thanas'l. I'm not taking anything for myself, of course, and so I'm assisting her taking that dagger. Does he still have that dagger?
You see no sign of any weapon on thanas'l's body.
Okay.
The only thing that may serve as any sort of threatening implement would be the symbol hanging around his neck, the black hand bedecked with silver rings.
Well, then I'll remove that from his neck and hand it to Sophia to hold.
She accepts it and puts it in a pocket inside of her cloak, completely wordless, does not say a thing. She's just working very methodically, like checking within the folds of thanas'l's armor. He's still wearing, minus the mask, he's still wearing the full complement, somewhat battle worn now, but the full complement of leather armor and cloak and everything of the White Banshee.
Oh, he's probably a bloody mess too.
Quite a bit, yes.
That doesn't come out of the white, buddy. Poor choice. I'll sling him over my shoulder.
You were all something of a grisly sight. None of you escaped that battle without your fair share of grievous wounds and bloodstains. With the exception of Makaria. She has magical means to remove any kind of soiling from herself. No? Not so much? Where are your battle scars, huh? Okay. So, Eldrick takes a moment to fully doff his Zadar's
Yep.
plate mail from the city of Sithmorcane.
Mhm.
And where are you packing that away, or are you just leaving it where it lies? What are you doing?
No, I'm gonna put it in my bag. My intention is still to give it to Irae if she wants it, as it is her husband, right? Technically speaking.
It's her husband's. Yeah.
Yep. 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 I'm just a little sad that I took the breastplate off when I did, because it's chilling out in Myrmidra, just
Yeah.
hanging out in that room she was trapped in for a bajillion years. But
somewhere near your hammer.
yeah. So yeah. Also, so Eldrick will walk out. He's dressed in probably semi-tattered traveling clothes with his big yellow tabard on, with the Illuminator sign on it. Only had so many sets of clothes in the Underdark, so he's probably a little on the ripe side, I would suspect.
You all pretty much are.
And unfortunately, I don't have create food and water to douse us.
Well, the river's not far, though it's pretty swiftly running this close to the lake. I don't have a visual aid for this week for the city of Heliogabalus. I'm sorry for those of you who are watching, but for next week I will have a little bit better picture of what the city of Heliogabalus looks like. But the city itself is perched kind of straddling the mouth of the Beaumaris River, which is from the most of its length, it's a very slow, sluggish river that runs down from the Great Glacier a few hundred miles to the north through almost the entire breadth and depth of the twin nations of Vasa and Damara, and empties into the great Lake Midori. I should really know that. It's been a little while since we've been in Damara. But the Great Lake that is the central point of most of the urban centers within the what will soon be the Kingdom of Bloodstone. Most of the great cities are around this lake. All of the commerce that travels back and forth between the various cities and out of the nation itself comes through Heliogabalus. Most of the merchant guilds and a fair few of the noble houses make their homes within the city of Bloodstone, or sorry, city of Heliogabalus. But as it gets close to the city, the city the river picks up a little bit, and it is believed to be manufactured. But there is actually a pretty amazingly beautiful, scintillating waterfall that is marked as one of the great wonders of the region that empties as the Beaumaris River cuts through the city, separating Old Town from sort of the newer areas of the city of Heliogabalus, and empties down into the lake. it is only one of the many wonders of the city, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to explore some of those. But I'll have, like I said before, I'll have some better visual aids for the stream for hopefully for next week. If we spend some time in Heliogabalus, at the very least, who knows, right?
Indeed. Well, there's some things to do.
There is a great bridge of stone construction that stretches from kind of the slums area, or what is being referred to as kind of the tent city, that now surrounds the city of Heliogabalus. In recent months, Heliogabalus was selected, I guess, as the center of a new sort of guild that exists now in this region, the Heliogabalus Adventurers Guild, or HAG, as it's colloquially known. That has drawn mercenaries and mercenary bands from all around, including some very large groups from regions around who have come to the city, are seeking their fortune and seeking a position within the guild. That has resulted in there being quite a few slums, effectively, that have been erected around the city proper, where all of these mercenary bands and mercenary armies, effectively, are bivouacking near the city's environs, but not within the city itself. So you actually have to pass through some of these tent cities. In Thoros'l, you do recognize a flag that you haven't seen in a very long time.
Oh.
The Devil's Own is here.
Fantastic.
Regardless, you are able to, relatively unmolested, if you don't count beggars and street merchants and the like, who are effectively on you the moment you step into the greater city limits, you are able to make it across the bridge and to the gates themselves, which are flung open wide. There's no tax or any sort of fee to enter the city unless you bring goods with you. And since you are the 7 of you carry no wagons or any obvious goods, that
Just got a wagon up here.
yeah, Eldrick's carrying the wagon on his back. Since you have no such items, and we've even retconned, just for purposes of continuity for you guys, Eldrick decided at length that he left Hammond at home rather than having abandoned him once again. Hammond is Eldrick's faithful, oft abandoned steed that essentially he comes around as a set piece occasionally and then immediately gets abandoned and never thought about again.
He comes around whenever we need him to defeat the wolves for us.
Wow, speed, hammer.
Apparently, he was the only
always
one
abandoned
ready
and
to
stuff.
kill wolves for a while.
Hammond is growing fat and lazy in the immaculate care of the stablemen in the city of Moravar, which is the capital of Morov, the province that Eldrick is now the Baron of.
Yeah.
So Hammond is living the good horse life way off, a couple days ride north of here in Moravar.
Excellent.
Yeah. So you make it into the city, within the city walls, and you're immediately, once again, it just kind of sweeps over you. The sounds and the sights of the city, the smells of the city. You're almost immediately, upon reaching the gates. I believe it's the Duchess's Gate is the southern gate of the city that you come in through, and you're immediately within just a few blocks of the great marketplace, which is the beating heart of Heliogabalus. And it is just a cacophony. There's music everywhere. There's the sounds of, again, the street vendors and beggars shouting and trying to get people to turn their heads. The street performers are everywhere. Even though the weather is a little bit on the cold side, it is distinctly better than the last time you were here, which was just after arriving from your previous adventure on the Overmind. You were delighted to find that even in a few short weeks, the status quo has become a little more hospitable now that the sun doesn't appear to be dimming quite so much.
That's so.
What are your plans?
Eldrick's game plan is to take the group to, since my apartments no longer exist, there's no chance we go to the castle, because arriving there unannounced would be a bad idea, and we're certainly not going to my folks' residence that would be here. So Eldrick's game plan is to take the group to one of the nicer inns in the area,
Okay.
so that we can all get cleaned up, and so that we can send out some missives, and everybody can kind of have their own space to take a moment to themselves.
Well, there's a particular inn that you're aware of that's in the castle district. It's not in the castle, like the government area itself, but it
Yeah.
is one of the older inns in town, and it has the greatest representation. It's called the Bloodstone Arms. It's the largest inn in town, and while it's not the most expensive and the fanciest, it does have the best reputation as being, where an upscale sort of joint. You could easily go there and find some refuge from the hustle and bustle of the city streets.
Absolutely. We'll head there. Assuming that nobody else has any qualms with that, the game plan would be Eldrick's gonna basically just walk in and be like, I need a suite of rooms. I need I need a suite of rooms. He'll look to Irae. Do you want to share a room with Thoros'l, or do you and thanas'l need your own room for cleaning up?
I suppose she looks a little taken aback at you asking. I suppose.
Or I can watch thanas'l if needs be while you rest.
No. I'm his mother. He stays with me. She makes a very pointed glance at Makaria, and clams up. Otherwise, one room for the two of us, I suppose.
All right, then I'll get a room. Everybody gets their own room, save for thanas'l then.
Okay.
So 6 rooms.
So we'll hand wave a little bit of the haggling negotiation process. It takes a little bit, but as you are given the state that you're in, there's a little bit of sniffing at number one. You're all just filthy. You've been crawling around in the Underdark for weeks without really a good opportunity to clean up. You're covered in your own blood, maybe not all your blood. You are in the presence of an obvious tiefling, which is not something that is often seen in the Bloodstone lands. And one of your members is carrying the body of a very, well, not the body, but is cradling the near lifeless form of what appears to be a drow. You are not immediately bothered for any of those reasons, but you do notice as you're during your trek through the city that you're receiving some significant glances. You are not challenged by the guard, but you do recognize very quickly that you'd have a tail. You do notice a squad of 5 of the Heliogabalus city guard in their golden armor and their very expensive accoutrement. They're not particularly stealthy about it, but they're following you at a respectful distance. Once you get within the Bloodstone Arms, the man behind the counter gives you a little bit of a look based on your appearance, but almost immediately after recognizes you. Oh, my Lord Baron. But of course, whatever we can do. Are you well, sir?
Well enough. We need some rest and some food to tide us over from our long journey. And when whoever from the guard comes calling, send them right to my room. I'm happy to answer any questions that I'm sure. And he looks to the door a little bit. They are going to have.
Hot baths too.
Yes, hot bath, very much.
Yeah, yes, of course. Anything that you require, my lord, it will be done. He claps his hands and sends a small army of attendants scurrying to try to arrange all of those things for you. It is not but a few moments, and he is very quickly ushering you out of the main common area and into the entire top floor. The top floor of one entire wing has been set aside for you and your companions. You don't get the feeling that it was necessarily readily available, but it was made available for you and your companions very, very quickly.
Nice.
Excellent.
But yeah, so after a few moments of just kind of posturing and settling yourselves in, you have rooms. You have the opportunity to rest and recuperate a bit. Food is quickly brought up. Small plates of sweetmeats and cheeses, assortment of wines and ales, and other types of beverages are brought and offered. Essentially, anything that you could ask for, the attendants are providing it before you even have the opportunity. It's good to be a baron. It's good to be a noble, and a recognizable one at that.
Yeah, Eldrick is pretty recognizable, isn't he? Then, excellent. So while we're doing that, Eldrick's going to write a couple. Well, first he's going to chat with Alanere, to do his thing and get in contact with the queen, just to let her know that we're back from our errand, so to speak.
I had already planned to do so.
Excellent. And then Eldrick's going to write a note and have it sent out to Titus and Madeline Oaks residents, basically informing them that we have returned to the city and that we have some guests in tow, which is why I did not immediately come their way. Let her know where I'm staying, all that jazz.
Okay.
And it's written to Titus and Madeline, but the note is, if you read past the initial dear blah blah blah, it's obviously to Madeline.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. Writing home to mama. Understood.
Mm-hmm.
What is Makaria doing?
Other than being muted.
Apart from being muted.
As soon as she is alone in her room, she will take a moment and cast alarm on both any window and door. She will then set a glass spider right next to the door itself, so that if it is opened, it will shatter. That is one of the wards that I have had since the beginning of the game.
Yes.
So it is sitting right there. She will also take out 2 books, set them on the nightstand, unwrap each cord 3 times, and just have them sitting there.
Okay.
And wait.
And just wait. Got it. Okay. What about Sprout? Sprout, what are you doing? Are you alone? Are you in furbolg form? Are you using your hat to change your appearance?
I'm in full Thoros'l form.
Okay.
I thought I'd just walk in just to see what people's reactions were, to see if I was recognizable. I'm assuming that I'm not, because I'm not from around here.
How tall are you again?
Bloody tall.
Very.
Like, are we talking like 8 feet, 9 feet?
Oh, I gotta remember how tall I am. I have it written down somewhere, I'm sure.
Sprout, I'm going to ask you while you're looking for your through your character sheet. I'm going to ask you for the very first roll of this campaign. I just realized we've gone for an hour and a half and nobody's rolled anything. So I'm going to ask you to roll me an insight check.
1,
Oh, this sounds
One.
awesome.
1, 1.
And we are going for insight.
Insight.
Excellent.
That is a 4 on the dice to result in an 8.
I'm tired and I smell bad, and both of those are
Mhm.
affecting my rolls. That's what I'm going with.
You will recognize that there are a lot of eyes on you as you're trekking through the city, and even as you enter the building. While the gentleman was having the conversation with Baron Oaks, his eyes kept flicking in your direction, and he looks very uneasy. Not just at you, but at most of the members of your party.
We are quite the frightening bunch, are we not?
You're not just an everyday group of adventurers, though. With all of the added groups in town, all of the added kind of mercenary bands in town, it's you're not as off the wall as you might think. But yeah,
Gosh.
you just notice as you're coming through town that there's not a whole lot of familiarity. People are looking at you. You can't really read what it is that they're what those significant gazes or glances mean, but you definitely feel a lot of eyes on you. You specifically.
Okay.
What about Alanere? Anything in particular that you want to do immediately upon reaching the safety of your room?
I'm more or less gonna kind of, get cleaned up. Take a little short rest to more or less get my shapeshift uses back. I do not have an animal messenger spell memorized.
So that'll have to be something you do after a long rest.
Yes, but in the meantime, I'm assuming I've got a window to my room. So my plan was to basically shapeshift to a bird, fly up to the palace, and look for the queen.
Okay. That's something maybe we can take care of so you're at least going to be resting for a little bit to get a short rest.
Yeah, cleaning up and need at least a short rest, and then.
Sure. So yeah, we'll broach that topic at a later time, whether it's later today or next time. But then I have to ask, what's Thoros'l doing?
Oh man. After he gets Sophia and thanas'l, like he's not like escorting them or anything. He doesn't believe they need it. He wants to know what room they're in, and once he sees the door close, he will in order warm bath, hot food, cold beer. Just gonna rest. It's been a while since they've had a hot meal that wasn't like mushrooms or something. So he's in for this stuff, and I don't know. I guess mechanically short rest, but really he's just relaxing.
Okay. All right. So after a short time, Eldrick, you've written your letter and you've arranged for a courier to take it to the Oaks residence, to Oakhart. Go ahead. You want to unmute first, but go ahead.
Yeah, I got to step away for 5 minutes. My little guy's crying, so I'll be right back.
Understood. Okay.
I want to switch the scene to somebody else for a second.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
To expound upon.
Go ahead, Sprout. Sorry.
I was just going to expound upon what I was planning on doing.
Sure.
I was going to be obviously, hopefully, if I can fit in it, get in a large bath and clean up. I would like to know who I can talk to about getting some clothes laundered. I'm guessing that there will be someone there that might be able to help me with that.
So I'm kind of picturing you stripping down, getting in the bath, your big hulking form, and then I don't know what your specific culture is like. You know what kind of taboos they have around nudity and things like that. But I kind of picture you opening the door to the washroom that you're in and just coming out bare assed with your clothes and your armor and everything in a bundle. Hey, who can I talk to?
That's actually pretty accurate. I mean, we're a very naturalistic people. We're nomads, so
There you go.
nudity is just a natural thing that happens. The other thing that I would be doing after I take a hot bath and etc. is I want to see my home, and so I will be utilizing one of my spells to basically take a look at that and kind of see what I can see what's going on with it, see what the world looks like.
Okay. So, as you've done maybe a 1,000 times before, you kind of seat yourself cross-legged in the silence of your room. You put the rift razor across your lap. You focus on the sword. You focus on your homeland. You focus on your training and your abilities as the Riftrender. And after it takes a little bit. It's you've been close to death several times within just in the last day. You've been so far removed from home for, God, you don't even know how long. It's, you know, the situation that you were in when these people found you. You don't know if you were there for months or years.
Yeah.
It was, all of it's just kind of a blur. But you do know, as you are resting there in your room, it's hard. It's hard to achieve that level of focus. You're starting to forget. You feel like you're starting to forget how even to do that, how even to reach back out through the planes and open that window. It takes a frustratingly long time. You feel hungry, you feel thirsty, you feel tired. And you'll notice that some time has passed when you start feeling that very, very subtle inkling of that kind of that vibration that you feel in your teeth whenever you're near a portal, or you're near a location that has, you know, some sort of translocation. And you open your eyes, and there it is. It's just that small window that you can sometimes manifest that overlooks the location that you've chosen. And you don't know how long it's been. You know, maybe it's only been a few days, but you don't know exactly how long it's been since you gazed out over this landscape. But it's still pretty bleak. Nothing moves. There's no sunlight, only darkness, stillness, silence. You see just the outlines, the shapes of buildings, somewhat familiar to you. Less so, recedingly so. You see no sign of your people. You see no sign of life at all. Just darkness, stillness, silence. You sit there for a moment, just kind of drinking it in, reminding yourself why you were here, why you came, and why that doesn't truly matter anymore. Allow yourself a little bit of a moment just looking out over that landscape and the representation of your failure. Allow that to sting for a little bit. You know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you could transport yourself through that window if you chose. Embrace that failure. It's tempting. It's that temptation. You feel like your failure, this is what you've bought. all the time that you spent away from your people, away from your home. This is what you've earned. Darkness. Stillness. Silence.
Just feel pangs of guilt and regret and failure just washing over me.
As every time before, you gaze out through that window, daring yourself to do it. Then the window closes. You're alone with your thoughts. Stillness.
If anyone were to see me at this point in time, they would see my entire face just slack, emotionless, with just a few tears coming out of one side. Knowing that I'm not strong enough to go through, but I'm not strong enough to stay. And I'm just kind of in that emotional and mental state of limbo.
There's a knock at the door, Eldrick, as you're finishing up a bite of food, maybe a drink. It's quiet. Not a loud knock, just a very subtle tapping.
I'll go and answer the door.
Beyond stands a pale, dark-haired elven woman. Different set of clothing. Not the blood-stained robes and cloak that she wore just a few moments ago. An hour ago when you last saw her. The same kind of stern, blank look on her face. She meets your eyes.
I'll gesture, come on in.
She does after a moment. It seems like it takes her just a moment to, like, she looks at you, she looks down at the threshold of the door, and she seems to be gathering herself a bit, but then she kind of straightens. The kind of blank look comes back across her very piercingly pale blue eyes. She steps through. What is it that you wish of me?
This is Irae, right? Just to make sure I'm on the same page here.
It is Irae, yes.
Eldrick has been known to have encounters with
Random
What's
women.
Your name again?
No, for some reason I thought her hair was white the entire time. Anyway, first, I would know why you hate Makaria so.
That is inconsequential now, honestly. Her betrayal notwithstanding, she can no longer harm me. I thought her betrayal was the end of a decade of careful planning to escape that prison, all come to naught because of the greed of that demon spawn. She stole from me. In a moment of need, I went against my nature. My very nature, what was drilled in me for a century. Can you imagine what it is like You can't. You're human. You can't imagine what it is like to live amongst the Drow for a century, learning that no one can be trusted, and being forced together with what was to be my destiny. Fate brings us together, only for her to rip that destiny away from me. She performed the ritual as I knew she must, but rather than direct the energies as she was fated to do to release me from my prison, she stole them for herself. You would do well to watch that one. What will she take from you? When will you need her? And she will not answer that call.
Well,
She holds up a hand. I know better than to question the motives of a paladin. I know who you are. I know what you are. What else
he'll
can I
grin.
give you?
He'll grin at that and let his ever-present aura just kind of wash over her for a second. The Makaria was included in our group because of her knowledge of a certain ritual that I believe you know. You told me you know, basically. I would know why that ritual exists and what is its purpose. Such a singular thing was not created on a whim, I suspect. And I would know more about it, as I suspect that it ties heavily into my quest.
She takes a moment, kind of looks around your room a little bit. You guys are basically just standing just beyond the threshold at this point. That is a story perhaps better told over refreshment, a drink.
My apologies. Where are my manners? I'm sure there's a jug of God knows what here. He'll pour her a drink and pull out a chair for her, and then he's not going to lock the door, but he's going to close it, because it's probably not a public conversation per se.
Are you a student of history, Eldrick Oks?
Wasn't much of a student of anything very well. I know a fair bit about local history. Why do you ask?
Does the name Karsus of Netheril mean anything to you? You can make a history check or an arcana check to determine if it does, if you don't know any more about it than...
I do not. I do have some thoughts on that question, though, which I'll get to here in a second. I'm going to do a history check because my history is flippin' baller. Well, for a paladin.
20.
Gentleman's 20.
A gentleman's 20. Dirty 20. Okay.
Yep.
You recall when she mentions that name,
It's Karsus of Netheril.
Karsus of
Karsus.
Netheril. Yeah. You don't know any specific details, even with a dirty 20. You don't know any specific details because you're not a student of arcane lore by any stretch of the imagination.
Certainly not.
But
Yeah,
you have heard the name Karsus before, and it is always the Karsus is always mentioned as effectively a fool who overreached and nearly caused the end of the world. His name is synonymous with the fall of Netheril, the ancient empire of arcanists from thousands of years ago that flew too close to the sun and destroyed themselves in their pursuit for arcane greatness. Karsus is a literary figure very similar to Icarus in our parlance. A wizard who pushed too far, too fast, and doomed himself and his nation.
gotcha.
More details than that you don't know, but you do recognize the name.
Gotcha. Well, when she asks how much I know about that, Eldrick will just kind of, look up to the right, like he's remembering something for a second, and then say, "My understanding is someone who reached for something that they could not attain and caused great destruction upon themselves."
She
Nethril is a word, however, that I know a bit about in relation to, I assume, the long lost, long destroyed empire.
It is also the name that Makaria's patron styles himself. Did you know that?
I believe that was mentioned during you and her's banter at one point. Yes.
I know this
Sure.
person to be a learned arcanist of some type. He is also the one who taught the ritual to me. He was a contemporary, perhaps, of my former master in Merimedra, Duneth. She stops for a moment and her eyes get very hard.
Mm.
And then there's a little bit of a smirk that crosses her face. He also believed that my meeting with his apprentice to be fated, and that the two of us would find a companion in one another, Makaria and I. It just goes to show that arcane learning, even centuries of it, I can only assume that he's that old, doesn't automatically give you a good ability to judge people.
Well, I would say that depends on what you interpreted his meaning for companion was. Your father and I were not exactly on good terms for a good portion of the beginning of our quest together.
She waves that away. Regardless, I believe that the ritual taught to me by this Netheril was an attempt to succeed where Karsus once failed. I'll give you a bit of a history lesson. Karsus of Netheril once attempted to usurp the powers of Mistral at that time, the goddess of magic. Attempted to steal her power for himself. Does that sound like anyone we know? She immediately, she says that and then puts up a hand like it doesn't even matter. That was a barb that is beneath you both.
Just grins.
The ritual in and of itself allows for the transference of power from one source to another through a focus. It's as simple as that. You asked about the cost, and the cost is great. I myself, I would never dare to attempt the ritual again. It was taxing, and it was only through the combined performance of the ritual, myself and Makaria, that my plan had any chance of succeeding. I stole a great deal of power, promised to Kieransali. That was my bargain with her. Steal energy, transfer it to her, and she was supposed to provide me with an escape from the prison that I languished in for so long.
I promise you understand she could have never
Of course.
met.
I knew that she would never be able or willing to hold up her end of the bargain.
Well, there's a bit of that you don't know, I think. The things that I carry, the gods are hesitant to even admit that they exist. So even if he had been entirely willing, I'm not entirely sure he could have freed you.
You speak for gods, plural, now? Eldrick of Ilmater?
I speak only what they have told me.
She takes a minute. There's a moment of just disbelief and like almost mocking on her face, and then she looks at you and sees that you're resolute. You truly believe what you're saying. She is kind of taken aback by it for a second. Her kind of mocking look on her face kind of falls away and just looks more inquisitive. The look she gives you is, "Who are you?"
Eldrick motherfucking Oaks.
But she doesn't press any further than that. Regardless, I knew that the Revenancer was never going to uphold her part of the bargain, which is where Makaria came in the first place. Her part was to immediately then complete the ritual on her own and steal that power back and perform exactly the action that we attempted. A merger, if you will, of the ethereal and material planes. If I couldn't leave the ethereal plane due to my curse, then I would just bring home to me. That was imminently within my grasp. Enough negative energy focused into the weave. The weave, I never know how much to tell you, people. Suffice it to say that a bridge was my goal. Utilizing the magical weave that surrounds all of us and feeds my magic. I could have done. You saw the evidence of that within the cavern. I could have done it. I could have walked free on the material plane again, after a fashion, had Makaria not stolen that power from me for her own ends, rather than direct the stolen power, stolen from Kiaransali, through the bridge that I had provided. She channeled it by means unknown to me into herself. Another reason for you to be wary of that one. That much negative energy leaves a mark. Hundreds, if not thousands of souls. It's a lot of energy.
Ain't nothing.
Regardless, the ritual itself requires a source or sources. It requires a target, and it requires a focus. In order to transfer power from one location to another, or one item to another, the ritual draws upon that power through arcane means that I will not attempt to explain to you, as I don't know that there would be a point.
Probably not.
Transference, simple transference. Where Karsus failed is he attempted to take on the entirety of a divinity upon himself. But I believe that Netheril, whoever or whatever he is, did in fact perfect Karsus's failure. I stand here having completed this ritual once. The power of a god? Possible. For one powerful enough to take it.
Why would he share that knowledge?
I wish I could tell you. I don't know. It's not something that
I mean,
might. Go ahead.
my experience is wizards, regardless of what else they are, don't like I would not expect a wizard to create another peer. Maybe a student, but not another peer. And to teach you a ritual with which you could siphon off the power of a god seems a good way to create a peer or someone who might far outstrip them, especially if you weren't specifically his student.
I agree.
That seems a very specific move.
I would agree. And its reasons, who knows? It is possible that Makaria's understanding of the ritual even outstrips my own. Maybe there's more that I just don't know. Maybe this is only part of it. But I do know that given enough power, a wizard like myself or like Makaria could do anything with this. It's beginning to dawn on me, as perhaps I imagine it's dawning on you, that another source of power, unmeasurable power, is perhaps within your grasp. Once my grasp, no longer. And
you're better for it.
Given what I know now, I agree. You are far more suited to carry that burden than I. For reasons I will never understand.
Just that good.
She rolls her eyes.
Yeah, Eldrick grins a little bit. Maybe I just serve the right god.
You serve.
No pain, no gain.
You serve.
I do. Best I can.
There is no right way to be a slave, even to a god you believe to be benevolent. She stands up.
There's that wizard speak.
She stands up from her chair, sets the glass of wine that she's been barely touching, even after she made a stink about having it.
Banners and whatnot. Yep.
Have you any other questions before I take my leave of you?
I do not, but I do have something for you. Before you set out from the city, I would provision you, and if you'll have it, I would have you take thanas'l's father's armor with you.
Make me just a flat charisma check. This isn't specifically persuasion.
Sure.
It's just a flat charisma check.
That'd be a 22 total.
She falters for a moment. The kind of like very carefully crafted facade of aloofness and coldness, I guess, cracks. And you can see just pure, genuine emotion flash oh so briefly across her face. There's a moment there that you almost think you see in her something you've almost never seen in her father. You are looking upon the visage of a night branch experiencing gratitude.
Oh God!
Whoa, whoa! We sure this doesn't blast me out the window?
It almost immediately vanishes, but just for that instant, you think that you saw it. She gives you a nod, turns for the door.
All right. Well, I'll get up quickly and open it for her and ask when does she think that she would like to leave, so that I can make sure that I get all the stuff to her before then.
She pauses, doesn't turn back. I think I should like to stay here for the night. Perhaps in the morning.
I will make sure everything is ready, so that you can leave at your leisure.
She nods again, glances out of the side of her face that is not covered by the long fall of hair, makes eye contact with you one more time, and then turns and disappears down the hallway.
All right.
I think that is as good a place as any. It's 10:15. We will go ahead and call it there for the evening. Thank you so much to the players. Thank you so much to those of you who have joined us this evening. I cannot wait to show you more. Keep in mind, so a few more items here before we call it a night. Bloodstone backstory is on its way. As I've mentioned at least once during this session, this is the continuation, not exactly the culmination yet, but the continuation of a campaign that we collectively have been playing for a very long time. This campaign has lasted since 2009. One complete story, or one nearly complete story, that we have been working on for the better part of our lives. We've grown a lot with these characters. Some of us have lost characters along the way. We've lost characters along the way. We've lost players along the way. But there is a grand story that I imagine some of you have noticed. You kind of jumped into the middle of something, a culmination of an arc. That's exactly certain. That's exactly true. This was kind of the culmination of a one of many arcs that have kind of transpired over the years, and we'd like to share all of that with you as well. So what I am doing in my spare time, of which there is very little, I'm working on a video series called Bloodstone Backstory, which will take you from the beginning of this campaign up till this moment, the moment where this began. I don't know how long that series is going to be. I don't know exactly how long it will be before I have all of those available, but I will. I'll post information in our Discord and on Twitter when those become available. They will be on YouTube, just like all of the videos that will be these sessions. We'll be putting those out there. We hope that you'll come back and join us if you want to relive any of the moments from this session or any other. Those will be out there. In addition, I have already created 5 videos of pre-stream sessions that started back in, I guess, December or maybe late November. But the immediately preceding 5 sessions, they've already been videoed. They've already been placed on YouTube. All I have to do is just release them, and I'm going to do that immediately after this session. So the first 5 pre-stream Bloodstone sessions will be available on YouTube first thing tomorrow morning. So if you're interested in going out and looking at those, they're pretty rough. They were before we really had everything settled as far as the visuals on our stream. Some of them don't have cameras. Some of them yeah, they're just a little bit on the rough side. So bear with us on that. I'll probably go back and edit those eventually as well, but I want to get those out to you right away. I know some of you are already chomping at the bit for more story. It's coming, I promise. In the meantime, so join us here on Tuesdays going forward. Same dad time, same dad channel. We will be bringing back more of Bloodstone every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central to 10-ish, whenever our dads need to go to bed. We'll bring back more starting next week. If you're interested in League of Legends, we do a weekly Thursday, Friday, Saturday stream where the four dads of the ARAM apocalypse play ARAM League of Legends games with our viewers and literally anybody else who will play with us. That runs from 10 p.m. Central till whenever we get too tired to keep going. Souls, Zale, and I play in those games, and we have a fourth dad that runs with us, Mr. Olives. He'll be joining us on Thursday, and we'll be back to our regularly scheduled league streams. We will be opening up potentially to some additional stuff in the future as well. If you're interested in Four Dads, if you're interested in any more of 8BitPonies D&D, hit us up on our Discord. That information has been put. That information has been put in the chat already. I'll add it again just now. Discord is there. If you're looking for any of our other dads content, we've got, I think, on the order of like 90 videos that we've already put out from previous streams for League. If you're interested in any of that, it's a riot. I'll tell you, we have a good time. Lots of really bad dad jokes. Lots of high to or mid to low quality League of Legends play. It's a good time.
Riot on Riot.
We hope that you'll come and join us for more Bloodstone. We hope you'll come and join us for more League ARAM Apocalypse. But until then, thank you all once again for joining us tonight. We hope that you had fun. I know I did. I believe that my players did as well, and we will be looking to rejoin you next week on Tuesday. Good night.